Yes, I can be the guy who resembles Howard Dean every now and then, and I like Howard Dean. But my point is this. I can also be the guy that could get angry and very firmly, succinctly, and professionally tell you what you've done wrong, why you've done it wrong, how you can change it, and really kick your behind. And I can do it so nicely that it's almost embarrassing. However, all I'm saying is let's not disqualify people based on maybe they lose it for New York second. Let's not disqualify. We've been doing too much of that. Now, I'm going to get back to this constitutional amendment before we get into anything else. And then we're going to talk about someone in this room, which I'm not mentioning names, who was recently let go by a corporate giant. And I'm going to bring a little bit of that up. And I'm going to bring up in a roundabout way some of the reasons. It should appall you. Once you hear this, it should really get in your gut. And it should get in your gut so bad that there's not a medication on the market, over the counter, or prescription that should let this feeling go. Because what was done to the person I'm going to describe was an abomination. But what it also was the mentality of corporate America for the most part. But let's get real quickly as to why I do not like this whole thing about banning gay people from being married. It comes down to this. We are Americans. We have a constitution. We also have a Bill of Rights. The bottom line is, if we are a free nation, and we believe what the Constitution says, then making a constitutional amendment is essentially writing into law hate. It's also subjugating people. Now, the American nation has had a long history of subjugating people, keeping people down completely, keeping people in situations where they died as a result, from in excess to medical care and many other things. We look at the history of this nation, how we destroyed many Native Americans. We brought African Americans, for the most part, against their will and made them slaves. We treated the Chinese pretty bad, and other pigmentations pretty bad for many, many years. In fact, it was legal to kill a Native American up until 1956 because they were considered warring against the United States. You would not have gone to prison. It was actually written in the law. How do I know? Because I took a security training course way back in '86, and it was actually in the law. So what we're talking about, when we talk about we don't want gays to get married, you know, you may be very religious. You may think, oh, that's great. I don't want a bunch of gay people get married. But what makes you think if they subjugate you, I mean, gays, that it can't happen to other pigmentations of people again? Or it could happen to you. I'm against it on one ground. It is un-American. It is denying people their rights. And so many people make me sick when they say, if gays are allowed to get married, it will lessen the institution of marriage. In case anyone hasn't had the information, homosexuals are not getting married for the most part right now. But there is over 50% of men and women marriages that end in divorce. That's what's hurting the institution of marriage. Not whether or not gays are allowed to be married, but the fact that 50% or more get divorced. But here's what really it comes down to. The truth is, the reason why they want to outlaw this and break our Constitution and amend it to fit their whims, it's about money. They don't want to pay benefits to homosexuals. But we have got to decide in our country, are we really a nation where everyone is treated equal? Where we the people, and the free and brave? Or have we become a nation that really doesn't care about anybody except yourself? And I'll tell you something. Our Constitution is a great set of paper. But we cannot deny people because we don't agree with it, because we morally think it's wrong. I think hate speech is disgusting. I actually hate to hear hate speech. But because I believe in freedom of speech and expression, I will fight to allow that person to hate speech. How do we combat hate speech if we allow it? We combat hate speech by talking about inclusiveness and what we're doing here. We don't need to outlaw it to fight it. We don't need to outlaw marriage of anybody because we don't agree with it. The Constitution didn't say you have to agree with everything. It said it was a certain right. I've done enough talking for right now. I would like Linnell and Elle to say something before, and in about 3 minutes we're going to get to a video. And then when we come back, I'm going to talk about this outrageous termination of a friend of mine who was fired because essentially he was too nice. But now let's go to Linnell Jones III. And by the way, before we do that, 412-231-2288. What's that number, Linnell?
412-231-2288. Give us a call.
And now it's your turn to talk.
Well, I totally agree with what Al said for the most part. We have to look at our Constitution and realize that it was devised for us to have certain rights. And if I'm not mistaken, the government who reigns over that Constitution, again, they work for us. We have to realize that they work for us. And that Constitution is for the people, by the people, not for the governor or for the government or for the senators or for even the president. But as individuals and as American citizens, yes, it is for them also. But that is constitutionally by the people, for the American people. We need to implement some serious change and realize and wake up in our minds as American people that we do have the right, we have the power. We need to exercise that power, and we need to do it in a way that it's going to bring about positive change and a positive solution that is going to benefit as many Americans as it can possibly benefit, so that we can move forward in the future, so that our children are not left with so much burden of what we do that is unconstitutional. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to let Mr. L take the helm.
Mr. L, what would you like to say?
It would be wrong for any government body to forbid gays not to marry. It seems to me that everybody is normal, natural, and they have a right for any kind of domestic simplicity that they wish to achieve. I think they should have full constitutional rights.
Well, I would like to add, if there are any calls, well, you can accept them after the video. But Monica, can you please roll, Monica and Kurt, can you please roll the first video clip now?
Sorry, not
I'm Albert
refreshing.
Torcaso. I host a public access show in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in the America and friends around. This is the North American continent. And many of you have seen my show. Many of you have maybe seen things I've done on YouTube, or maybe other places on